The Box That Went Unnoticed. Story 2. Moving day was finally here. 18 years of waiting. It all came down to this day, to this moment. This past week went by so quickly, I don't believe I had time to soak in the neighborhood I had loved so much. But I was prepared for this. I was facing the opportunity of a lifetime. My future husband was by my side. The down payment for our house had been accepted and taken care of. What could be better? Yeah, if we didn't have to move so far away. But that's what they say. When opportunity knocks, you open the door and follow it wherever it takes you. So our opportunity is taking us to the desert of Arizona, Phoenix to be precise. One last look around as I walk back through the neighborhood, from the corner store to the park, from the river back up to the schoolyard. One more walk through the parents' house. Better get a move on. But I can't believe this is really happening. Moving with my high school sweetheart. I mean, is it a coincidence or what that we both got jobs in Arizona? We're able to set up an agreement with my company on the type of house that we move into? All of my dreams were coming together and coming true. A Victorian house, the man of my dreams, moving on my own, in the field that I wanted to be in right out of school. But maybe something is too eerie about everything going so right all the time. Maybe it's building me up for everything to be taken away within 6 years and I'm not going to know what hit me. I was talked about in high school for it seeming like my life was perfect and I didn't have any struggles or worries. But that's not true. Relationships before Thomas were pure hell. I was raped and abused and put it behind me. I didn't tell anyone but Thomas, and never once did he make me feel like it was my fault or made me feel like I needed to be ashamed of what had happened. Thomas yelled, "Janet, sweetie, let's go so we can try to beat the traffic. We have a long drive out of Texas." "Okay, I'm coming," Janet responded. With that, she was out of the door, saying her last tearful goodbyes to the house, her parents, and in the car. Her parents met them at the end of the driveway with the last, "Drive carefully and call us when you stop and let us know when you get there." With that, they rolled up the windows because it was a smoldering 110 degrees outside in the Texas air. So the air conditioner was cranked up so they could be comfortable on the ride out. At first, the car was silent as they drove through the great state that they loved, neither one wanting to say anything about being sure of whether or not they were making the right decision to pursue these new opportunities. But that was what life was about, taking risks, being grateful for opportunities to explore and fulfill dreams. So this is where their road leads. It felt as if they had been on the road for 12 hours. "Geez," Janet said. "What's wrong?" asked Thomas. "Oh, nothing. Just nerves, I guess," Janet said. "Relax. You got this, sweetie. You nailed both the phone interview and the webcast interview, which saved you a trip out here unnecessarily if they decided not to go with you. But you beat out hundreds of other students that applied for the position at Global Tech. This is your time. You worked for this," Thomas said reassuringly. "Thank you, babe. That's why I love you. You always know what to say to make me feel better," Janet said. At that moment, they had been on the road for 8 hours and decided it was time to stop and get something to eat. They decided that at the next exit they would get off so they could get something to eat and top off the gas and then resume their trip to their new lives. They left 4 days early so that they could learn the terrain and find the easiest routes to their new jobs, which start on Monday. The new house was fantastic. It was an old Victorian pale white. It had a beautiful grand spiral staircase in the foyer. The master bedroom had a bed loft, 3 walk-in closets. This was turning out to be a little girl's dream house. But that may soon come to an end. Janet was telling Thomas that she overheard some people at Global Tech talking about an old Victorian house that was haunted. "Thomas, I don't know if it's our house or any of the other 12 houses on the block. I don't know if they're just trying to rattle me. Maybe that's what I get for trying to pay attention to what's said around the office. Well, babe, we will soon see. But for now, let's try to get some sleep. We have a long weekend ahead of us. With that, they turned off the chandelier light and went to sleep in a room with boxes stacked to the ceiling. The only thing that showed life was there was the fact that the bed was put together and made up. Well, the weekend was here. The unpacking had begun. First up, the kitchen and putting away the dishes, spices, and food. Pots under the sink, linen in the hallway closet. The main bookcase in the living room was starting to look like a bookcase again. In the course of the weekend, many of the rooms in the house started to come together, and it showed that they were making an effort to make the house look lived in. Janet was starting to have doubts. Doubts that she had before she left home. Maybe I shouldn't have left home. I'm too young. I don't have enough experience. I was selected out of an internship program. Maybe I'm not as qualified as I made myself out to be. Janet, where are you? Thomas called. In the attic, she replied. What are you doing up there? Thomas asked as he walked up the spiral staircase to the attic. I overheard stories about the attic from work, so I was just trying to check it out on my own. Thomas, I'm starting to have second thoughts about all of this. Maybe I'm not cut out for it, Janet said downheartedly. Babe, you listen to me, and you listen well. You are more than qualified for the job in which you have been employed to do. You're just new to the office. Maybe someone that got passed up for the position's trying to rattle you because they know you're listening, he said. But what if the house really is haunted? How do you explain some of the things that have been happening? Blinds that were closed are open, books being moved. What if someone died here and their soul is at unrest? What if we are disturbing their peace, she asked. Janet, there are always going to be questions that don't have reasonable answers. But the reasonable and sane answer right now is the house is settling. The house hasn't been lived in 10 years, he said. So after 10 years, the house has to readjust, Janet asked. That's all that's going on, so you don't have anything to worry your pretty little head about. Just be calm and relax, Thomas said. So what's for dinner, Janet asked. Dinner, Thomas repeated. You know, dinner, the meal that's eaten at the end of the day, but we haven't eaten it together because you've been working late, Janet replied. Oh, I see where this is going, and I'm not going to allow you to take me there. So I will eat alone again, and will be back with you later, Thomas said. And with that, he packed a bag, grabbed his keys, and left. Janet was dumbfounded. While she understood what had happened, she just wasn't able to process it. And for the first time in 3 years, Janet was sleeping completely alone. No phone to fall asleep on, no Skyping till she fell asleep. She was completely alone in a house that belonged to the both of them. Since she was completely alone, she felt even more afraid of being in the house. But she had to tough it out. This was no time to break down and call home for words of comfort or advice. I can do this, she thought. With that, Janet prayed for Thomas's safety while he was away and hoped he would decide to come back home. With that, she crawled into bed to go to sleep. While sleep was what her body was asking for, but her mind was just playing on her. I have to be imagining this. Why do I hear noises coming from downstairs and up in the attic? Did Thomas come back? Should I call to see if that's him, or should I just lay here in the bed and hope it doesn't come upstairs? Janet stayed in the bed, and although she wanted to scream, she remained silent, closed her eyes, and eventually sleep came. But not soon enough, because suddenly it was 5 a.m. and the alarm clock was chiming. Her body and mind were in agreement with no. So she was faced with the choice of sucking it up and facing the day with a Tylenol and a coffee, or calling in sick and cuddling up in the bed. Against her better judgment, she pulled out the dark blue pantsuit with the black and blue pumps, pulled her hair into a French roll, and kept her makeup natural. She had to face the day and just hope no one had seen Thomas out overnight. That was the last thing she needed, was for there to be someone talking about her and him splitting up or him cheating. Cheating? I hadn't even allowed that thought to enter my conscious mind. Why would he cheat? Has he even become close enough with anyone here yet? But I guess I need to ask myself now, is he really working late? A week has gone by. Thomas hasn't called, texted, or anything, Janet said to her mother. Well, what happened, sweetie? She asked. I don't know. I wouldn't say we got into an argument. More an exchange of words. He packed a bag and walked out the door, Janet said between sobs. Have you called the police? She asked. Yes, they said they're doing all they can, but no one seems to know anything, which I don't know how that can be. But I guess in this small town, everyone is going to protect everyone else, Janet said. Maybe he wandered across the county lines, and anything could have happened, she said. Mom, please don't. I want to try to remain positive, Janet said. At that moment, the phone rang, and it was the Clarkson Police Department. Hello, Janet said. Miss Turner, this is Chief Donaldson, and we have some information regarding Thomas. Can you come down to the station, he asked. Yes, I'll be there in 15 minutes, Janet said. Janet braced herself for the news that she was going to get. Her mind was racing with the worst, but she tried to keep herself calm. She got to the station and seen the solemn look on people's faces. Suddenly her heart felt very heavy. She could barely contain the tears that had begun flowing. Please sit, said Chief Donaldson. Janet sat and listened as the chief explained that Thomas had indeed crossed county lines while he was out walking that night 3 weeks ago. He was hit by a drunk driver and was killed instantly, and it took so long to get the news over to Clarkson because they hadn't gotten the memo we sent out about a missing person. We are so sorry for your loss. If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to call, said Chief Donaldson. Thank you, Janet said between sobs. Upon returning home, Janet went to the attic to find comfort in some things that were moved up there. She wrapped up in a blanket that belonged to Thomas and laid back and stared at the ceiling, then looked around the vacant space that had now seemed so empty. She spied a box that she hadn't noticed before. The box contained items that belonged to a little kid. In the box was a teddy bear, a blanket, and a diary. Curiously, she opened the diary and read the last entry. It was dated for September 21st, 1993. Dear Diary, today is the day. I am tired of feeling this way. I thought he loved me. I guess at this age I don't know, if I really know, what love is. But I thought your dad was supposed to be there to protect you, not the one to hurt you. I thought I'd been helpful since Mommy went to heaven, but I guess I haven't been so good. Daddy came into the attic and found me hiding and told me that he had to end this. As I lay here on the floor bleeding, I prayed to God for Daddy to feel better and told Mommy I was coming to be with her. Janet closed the book and sobbed even harder. She couldn't believe what she had just read. How sad. Now the noises and things being moved made sense.